All right, Joel, this is the second one, prospect camp that you've kind of run. What's your message on day one?
Um, we're with them in the fight. For a lot of them, it's the first time, or it's a good opportunity for them to showcase themselves. So as a coaching staff, we got to be there for them, and we know what it is. I was in those as a player, and it's a great time of the year. We were excited to get back on the ice with the kids. I thought they did really good today. It's a long day with medical and testing. So our message is for them to attack the situation, attack the moment. When you have an opportunity to be wearing an AHL jersey, I think we all value guys that take it seriously, which I know they all do. But we want them to make an impact, and this is the message we send them today.
What's important when you have a guy like O'Reilly who's new to the organization? He wasn't just necessarily here for development camp. I don't know how much you guys have seen of him, but what's important when you're trying to kind of wrap your arms around a new guy like that who obviously has that kind of pedigree, I guess?
Yeah, he does have a lot of experience in junior. I mean, he's done well. We're pretty excited to have him on board. And it's for him to just get a feel for everybody. But he's a hockey player, and he's going to be out there, and I know he's going to play, and he's going to play hard. He wants to, obviously, every time a player goes on the ice, he has his name in his back, and you can tell that he's a competitor already in the first practice, and he listens to requirement, and he's coming from a really good program in junior hockey. So we're excited to have him, but it's just to turn him loose, let him play. Obviously, it's a first look for us, and it's first time for him in the organization. So it's about getting to know each other, but we know he's a dedicated young man, so it's going to be fun to see him around.
How much of that, like you said, let him loose and kind of let him play, how much of that is an opportunity for you guys to learn their personalities, who they are on the ice, maybe more so than off the ice?
It's a good question, because every time we have a chance to be on the ice with them or behind the bench, it's a chance for us to interact and to get to know them, and for them to get to know us. So obviously communication is key, but it's good to see the body language, to see how they react to situations. So, from the stands, there's so much you can see watching a player, but when you get a chance to get your hand on the player, I always said, if I can get my hand on the player, then I can get a good grasp and a good feel and how he is. So it's so valuable for us to spend this time with the kids and get to know them. And for him and like for everybody else, every opportunity is an opportunity. They get another one.
Coach Dylan Duke's a guy that's got a taste of the NHL last year. What do you like about his game, and what do you think he needs to show, or what do you guys like and see he can get back there?
First of all, he's a strong competitor. He's a great person. He really takes pride in pushing himself and getting better, and that's why he got the game in the NHL last year. He deserved it. He was great for us last year. He's a game in, game out kind of guy, and even every practice. So he's in the fight of hockey. So you just got to keep pushing. I know he put on the work this summer. He's always trying to improve himself. He's a very serious guy. But I got to say, our young guys are very dedicated, all of them. I mean, I just saw some score in testing, and I can see that they always take to heart the conversation we have with them about them getting better. And it's no different for Dookie than the other one, because I see them grow and in Syracuse, and you guys don't have the chance all the time to see them, but we're day in, day out with them, and they're definitely take the process of becoming an NHL player very serious.
With Dylan, he's got so many attributes that I know coaches love, right? The work ethic and everything else he has. When he puts in the work to improve the areas he knows he needs to improve on, he specifically mentioned the skating that he knows he needs to get better at. What's that tell you about that dedication level?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet $2 against Dylan Duke. He wants to play hockey for a living. He's going to give you the best version that he can give. And he's still a young guy in the game. He's going to second-year pro. It just tells you how serious he is. He knows where he needs to improve. He's going to put on the work, which he does this summer. He's going to keep pushing. And he's the kind of guy that twists your arm. And we have a lot of guys like that, to be honest, in the organization. And they're not always a first-round pick or second-round pick that makes it to the NHL. There's those late draft pick or those invite or those free agent signing that makes it. And I mean, I think this organization is a great example of guys like that come into camp, and you just look at Littleberg and Chaifee and guys that come from either our organization or we're on sign, and then they come in and they put out the work, they buy into what the Tampa Bay Lightning is all about and what Coops want, and all of a sudden you look in the NHL and they sign an NHL contract and they're here for a while. And I think Dylan and like all the other young guys we have here, they have a chance, they have a shot, they have a jersey, they have an opportunity, and what I'm most proud of is their buy-in to make sure they can be the best version that they can be. And it's my job to push them, but they're really taking, advice and us pushing them, with a positive mindset.
What has impressed you the most about Ethan Zada?
Well, you know what? He's a young guy that you can notice that he's a hockey player, obviously, and he's got some intangible about going about the game. Like he gets into the game, which from what I've seen, and I don't have as much of a look of our scout or everybody else, but from what I've seen and what I've seen practice is that he's in there, he's in the fight, and that's what we like. We like guys that compete, that are invested in the moment, and it's definitely a player that you could tell that he takes every little part of the game seriously, even as a young. And it's not easy for young guys to do, but you could tell that he's engaged in the game.
You made a move with Max Groshchev last year
Yeah.
and moving him to defense, and
Yeah.
like what goes into that thought process? Because it's one thing to go from defense to forward. You see a lot of
Yeah.
guys do that. It's not too many guys go the other way. So what did you see that maybe Max didn't do that?
Well, I started a long time ago where I didn't want to tell anybody because I thought everybody thought I was crazy, which I am sometimes. But it was a long process for me to sink it in. And without getting into too much detail, I felt his attribute as an athlete were so valuable for a defenseman. And he already had a foundation with his skating and his backward skating, which a lot of time, you guys don't get to see as a reporter, or even as a hockey scout, because he's played forward, but we could see him practice. And I kind of started putting him in practice in the back sometimes, just early in the year, just to see how he would do. So we'd have 7 defensemen. I'd just say, why don't you take some rep on D? And he's a great athlete. And he'd be like, okay. But then nobody knew, but I was kind of looking at him from the corner of my eyes to say, and then when, we had to take some time off, I put it the full month and during practice on defense, because I knew he was not going to play for a month. And that was kind of where I say I'm going to see the end of that during the month. And I never told anybody, not even the coaching staff. And Julien was aware of it, that I was going to think about trying him. And every practice I was like, you'd be watching practice at home and just saying like, his attribute. And then when I told the player we lost Carlisle, which is a big loss for us, broke a foot, and we were in the playoff race. And I was like, we need more D. And I still thought he could be, at the NHL, and I still think he is. Now we're still early in the process, but anyways, it was a long discussion, with myself. But I thought he had the attribute that's are very valuable for a defenseman, and he did tremendously well. To be honest, he was even my highest expectation. I think he did even a little better.
What were those conversations like with him? Because, we could see some of the offensive skill. Like I remember his first rookie camp here a couple of years ago. It seemed like he had a breakaway per game, and he really stood out in that aspect. So to take a guy who maybe has that, offensive mindset as a forward and kind of flip that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that rookie tournament or early in the season is not always relate into the season. So his offense was a little more limited when he came to the game tied it up in the AHL. He's definitely a great skater, which he still is. He can skate himself out of trouble from the back end, which is a great attribute for a defenseman. And the conversation was about, at one point, he was kind of stalling a little bit as a forward, and I just told him, pretty simple, like, I think you could be in D, and do you want to play a lot more as a D or a lot less as a forward? And the decision is, was to me to say, I want you on D. And he said, well, whatever you want, coach. At this point, I gotta get in the lineup. The team was rolling really good too. So for him to miss a month and get back up front, it was going to be a little dicey for him. So I said, hey, if you want, I got a spot on D if you want to try it. And he was kind of, yeah, I'll do it. And I think by that time, he was comfortable, and the guy really embraced it. I got to say, Santini is a great veteran we have in Syracuse, and you guys saw him up a little bit in the NHL, but he really took him under his wing and really helped him out and enjoyed the process. That's why you have veteran like Santini in the pro hockey. Just enjoy helping Groshchev, performing, and I think I think Roshev liked the ice time on the back end versus forward. But anyway, it's a long process. We're still early in it, though. I gotta say, like I'm the one right now that says just go one step at a time. We can definitely gonna give him more rep. But he looked good.